Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Nereeda McInnes.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Nereeda McInnes. It is so awesome to be with you as always. And today is another very awesome day because I am joined by a return guest. She is the one and only Max Lowen. Max, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's really good to be back. I just enjoyed our conversation, and I'm always looking forward to spreading any kind of truth or healing that I can. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back, Max. And I think today we thought we would dive into a bit more of what's going on in the world and the underlying bits and pieces that you can speak to so well. So perhaps I'll just throw it over to you to just sort of kick things off and then jump in whenever I have a question.
Okay. So, gosh, where to start? This planet, this beautiful Earth that we live on, has been taken over by a very dark group of beings, and they have a hierarchy. And I call them the global cult. And these people are psychopaths, they are Satanists, and they are, as a majority, pedophiles. And so if you think of their hierarchy as a pyramid, there's the people at the very, very top, and then they have levels and levels and levels. The bottom level of that power structure would be the governments and the presidents and the politicians, and that's the face front to us, the people. But that lower level is the lowest level of their hierarchy, and those people don't make any decisions of their own. They follow orders. In fact, everyone in the hierarchy follows the orders, and everything's compartmentalized. So different groups, they have different factions and of the order in different groups. These are given certain tasks or certain things that they do. And so no one except the people at the tippy top have the entire agenda. So because, for optimal control. And so this hierarchy would include the militaries of the world, which, for example, the military of the United States does not actually work for the United States. It's not. They work for these people. This would include the heads of all the global agencies. This would include the top religious leaders in the different churches. It would include the entertainment industry, such as Hollywood, etc. The people that are at the top of the media, at the top of medicine, at the top of big pharma, at the top of education. And these are like somewhat above the government president layer. And then kind of above them, you would begin to have people then there's the bloodline families, let me not forget them, okay? And they're different groups, like the Jesuits or the Freemasons or, the Council of Foreign Relations. They have their different groups that do different things. And then kind of above that would be people that you don't really know who they are, but they're in charge, and they have covens. So they portray this in movies as some kind of silly witches, no, but there's real black magic. These people use astrology. They're into the lunar cycles and the eclipses. They use black magic. So they're very powerful, the covens and the coven masters. And then at the very tippy top, and this is going to sound fantastic, but they're not necessarily human at the very tippy top. So I'll let you ask questions, but I wanted to kind of describe the hierarchy and the control structure as it exists today, though I'm optimistic that it's coming apart right now. But this is kind of what we've been under for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, some of it does sound fantastic, but it is what is going on. And we live in a world that is multidimensional. So, of course, there is going to be different creatures, entities, energies,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. So it makes sense that there, of course, we're living in a world of duality as well, that there will be evil and there will be good. And so there is all of that playing out, isn't there?
Yes. And, you know, this is actually, you can find this, you can read books and research this, you know, the so-called Anunnaki. That name, a lot of people have heard that. And it means something like the beings that come from the sky or come from the heavens. And if you think of like all religious art, Christian and others, there's always the gods are always on clouds with like what look like thunderbolts or rays of golden light. I mean, that's a spacecraft, okay? So these people came from elsewhere, and the original peoples describe them, and it's in Egyptian art, it's in Aztec and Mayan, it's in Sumerian tablets, it's even in cave art, you see pictures of what look like astronauts and spacecraft, right? So this is nothing, I'm not making this up. I mean, you can actually find this if you look through art and archaeology and history. And so it's documented, even the story of Anu, the grandfather, and then Enlil and Enki, and then Marduk, the grandson. It's written, it's in there in history. And so, you know, and then it goes with the Babylonian history and all that, but this is actually out there. And I think also like mythology is actually history, but we're told it's like just some stories. Think of the Greek mythology where the gods rape human women and then they create the class of demigods. All these gods, by the way, are, I hope I can say this, I'll just say a-holes, right? They're all jerks who do terrible things. That's not the creator God that we know as the real God. But so in this mythology, they rape human women and they create these demigods. Well, I believe, my theory is that these beings mated with humans or genetically tinkered and added themselves, you know, mixed maybe with an original hominid or whatnot, and created a class of humans. And then they breeding with these humans create what's now called the bloodline families or the elite class, because they think they're so special and above us and different. I mean, if you've been around them as I have, I mean, oh, they consider us to be cattle, to be slaves, and they are far superior. And in fact, one of their agendas is to become the gods of this earth. So they feel very much that's why they protect their bloodlines, because they're actually descendant hybrids from this race at the top and humans. So they consider us more lowly. And again, if you look at history, there was a time of kings, right? And what did kings say? They had the divine right to rule. They spoke directly to God, right? So now that's not kings anymore. It's the people in authority in the corporation, the mega corporations or the global agencies or whatnot, or these bloodline families, but they see themselves as a special privileged class. And so anyway, I'll let you kind of ask any questions you want, but it's really, if you start looking at history and reading and studying and looking at art of all cultures, you'll start to see this, including, by the way, all ancient art shows demonic entities, all of them. They're everywhere. They're on the churches of Europe. They're in the Mayan ruins. They're everywhere. So this is not, you know, some kind of made up thing. This is out there.
Yeah, it is out there. And when you were saying that, I was picturing some of the buildings, like even just in New York that I've seen with the different things on there. I mean, it's just, it is everywhere. And I guess as you were talking as well, just there are agendas at play. Like it's not just about power, although I feel that that's quite one of the big things. What are the agendas of these people? What do they hope to do? And then I guess following on from that, our job, what's our job as well? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one of their agendas is just literally to rule the world openly. They want to be seen as gods and as, the owners of humanity. Other of their agendas are depopulation, and thankfully I'm seeing a lot of people awakening to that. And actually, I would hypothesize that, pretty much everything we've been taught in history is BS. It's just rewritten and it's not. So I think they probably have done this depop, this mass genocide before in cycles, because there's a lot of evidence that there were human civilizations in the past that were way more advanced than we are today. The slaves did not make the pyramids in Egypt. I mean, please, people, that's like ridiculous.
I know.
So I'm going to say they've done this before. Perhaps a theory of mine, perhaps, is that the Great Flood, like Noah's Ark story, which exists, by the way, in every culture in the world who didn't have any way to communicate, right, was maybe such an event where they wiped everything out. And then the Ark was like a lab or a ship where they kept some DNA to repopulate. So I would just say this is another time when they're doing that. So it's definitely depopulation. There's documents you can find and read if they haven't completely wiped them off the internet that say they want to depopulate 90 to 95%. So out of 8 billion, that's most of us. They don't want to leave too many. And then they want to take the remaining and completely enslave them. And this whole AI thing is actually also to merge people with AI so that we're compliant, we're docile, we do exactly what they want, and we're somewhat sort of robotic with a hive mind. And there's actually quite some evidence that can I say the thing that they did?
Oh yeah, the jab.
Those on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get, the experiment actually has something like that in it. It has changed people's personalities. So they want this remaining few to be their complete slaves, because see, they've let us expand a lot, and people live comfortable lives and they have homes and they have, granted, all we do is work to enrich them, but still people have had a certain nice standard of and quality of life, and they don't want that anymore. They want to put everyone in these open air prisons they call 15-minute cities, and really have an AI hive mind so that people do with no resistance what they want. They also want to, part of this is the transgender agenda. It's also transhuman. They want to eliminate human reproduction. They want to eliminate the genders. They would like to produce babies in labs, in bags. They use babies in their rituals. They rape them. They sacrifice them. They eat them. So a nice endless supply of babies would be great for them. And, they harvest off our energy as well. We're, like the movie The Matrix said, we are their batteries. And, you understand the multidimensionality factor. So the demonic entities that are etheric, they feed off our human emotions, it's called loosh. They have to be in the right frequency, which is the survival frequency emotions like fear and anger and all that, guilt and shame. So there's a level where, we've been harvested, our income is harvested illegally, it's taken. Our emotions are etherically harvested. We're used to create everything on this planet. So that would continue, but in a more controlled, completely enslaved way, and put us in these little, open air prisons so that they can enjoy the planet, but we can't. So there's a lot of agendas, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, this sort of stuff has been going on for ages, and like you were saying, like we've gone through this before, and maybe like some people will talk about the reset or the mud floods or Tartaria and all that sort of stuff as well. Like we've had these times. Do you feel like we're shifting into or we already have shifted into this new time, and now things are starting to unravel? Like these agendas are being so I mean, it's so obvious, some of the things now, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's really, I think we're at an incredibly critical point in our history where there's a mass awakening happening. And some of it is galactic, it's we have help, the light is coming in more, consciousness is coming in more. And see, these people have succeeded with secrecy and deception. So that rising of consciousness is very, very bad news for them because they'll lose at that point. So think about it this way. The lengths these people have gone to suppress our consciousness. So there's the chemtrails, there's the poisoned corporate food and the GMO food and the non-existent food that's called fast food. There's the and the pharmaceuticals that they give us. So the medical system was designed by Rockefeller precisely to slowly poison and kill us while profiting off our decline. A weak vessel, a weak body is a weak mind, right? So then you take the educational system, which was really designed to create little automatons who obey authority and question nothing and look outside of themselves for answers. And so the educational system has children, there's a lot of research that shows they're all born at a genius level, but nope, we can't have that. So they dumb down through that system. The media was created, if you research Mockingbird media, to propagandize, to mind control. They do things, Hollywood and entertainment was created to, and the music industry, to slowly socially engineer people to devolve the morality, make them more in the image of them. If you look at it today, there's so much less empathy and compassion in people than there was a few decades ago, and that's deliberately done. For example, they know psychology, they know the nervous system. So they have created a way that we're born that breaks attachment. So, you look at mammals, all of them, the babies are born, they're on the mother's body. Our babies are born in hospitals, which are terrible places. They're put in a little room, then the parents both have to go work because they make the economy deliberately so bad. So then you got to put your child in daycare or preschool, and then the state has them and can indoctrinate them sooner, then not to mention the trauma. They create and fund all wars, and the wars give them a sacrifice to Lucifer, all the dead. They love murdering people. They also give them a supply of children, the orphans, and they traumatize the population and destabilize. So they keep us destabilized. There's all these false, like 9/11, they blew up the towers. The experiment that they just did in the last few years, it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse program, right? So that was the pestilence. And now we're seeing them create the famine. They have murdered all these cattle in Texas with the fire they set. Just yesterday, there was news of a bridge collapsing in the Baltimore harbor. And just already videos are showing the points where it's either a laser attack or they blew it up. They're going really fast to try and create a destruction of the food supply. They're just going at us at every possible angle and have been for a long time. Well, that tells me how scared they are of us and our inherent power, because we're of the light. We're of the creator. We have been dumbed down, but we are multidimensional beings, right? And see, here's the thing, they're not, because they have sold their natural soul to have power and wealth and fame and control, and they worship Lucifer. And I would say if God, the creator, is the sun, Lucifer is the moon. It doesn't have its own light. It's a reflection off the sun. And these people will sell their souls, so they're cut off now from that organic life force energy. And so they need us, but we don't need them, So think of what they've done to devolve us to the point that we are today. And I think they knew there was this golden age coming. There was this cycle, because there's cycles of light and dark. And some people call the dark one the Kali Yuga. And I read this Russian guy, Nikolai Levchov, a long time ago. He called it the night of the Svarog and the day of the Svarog. And he said the day would dawn between 2012 and 2022. So these people know that there's this potential. So they're rushing, and that's why they're messing up, because they're like, oh, crap, we've got to like get them quickly. The pandemic, climate change, we're all going to die, eat bugs. They're just going crazy because they know that this is happening. So I see them in massive collapse right now. That's what my eyes see.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much there that when you were talking as well about the different things at play, I had this memory pop in of sitting at a cafe out the front, and there was a school across the road with massive wires like enclosing, and then the bell going. And I just think it's so much like a prison system. It's like you're allowed out at this time, you can go to the toilet this time, you got to ask to go, and there's so many layers there. And like you said as well too, consciousness is raising, and there's no stopping that. There just isn't. And our power within, I mean, we are such powerful creatures, and when we tap into that and just fully step into our power, there's no stopping it, is there?
No. And I do think that besides a depopulation tool, that the jab was an attempt to suppress that natural consciousness rising, because I've read and research a lot, and at some point years ago I came across DARPA having made that they called it the fun vax for fundamentalism. And so they would give it to these supposed Islamic suicide bomber terrorists and it would be designed to sever their connection with the divine, right? To shut that off, that part of the brain off. So what's to say they didn't put that in this experimental jab, So that's how desperate they are, but they can't stop it. They can't stop this wave. I mean, I'm very heartened by the amount of truth that I never, I couldn't have imagined 10 or 20 years ago. I felt so alone because of the way that I grew up and what I knew. So I wasn't fooled. Like whenever I would see events happen, even when 9/11 happened, I was watching TV with someone and I said, oh, there they go again. And, oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist, So I felt always so alone with this knowledge. And now I don't. I see and I meet people like you and so many others. I mean, so many of us are putting out the truth. And from all of our mouths, we're putting out the truth in all its forms. And I've never seen that before in my life. So I feel really heartened by that. I'm just smiling internally because you guys you insert curse word are done, you're done. And they're going to try to do as much as they can. But I don't even think they have their metaphysical or technologies or black magic. I don't even think that they have a lot of the things that they were using of that nature. I don't think those are operational anymore. And I have a feeling that the top layers aren't here anymore because the frequency is too high. They can't exist in it. So I think the layers that are left are the more human layers that are doing all this stuff, because again, they're following a plan. They don't, they just obey, right? So I have a feeling even the top ones are no longer with us.
Yeah. Wow. I feel that too, actually. And it means that it's like the analogy of cutting the head off the snake, but the snake's still moving around, isn't it? And there's still stuff going on. And there is still some of the stuff going on, stuff that you had to go through and endure growing up. Like that is still going on, but the more that we raise consciousness and frequency, it can't keep happening, can it? Because of the energetic nature of who we are.
Yeah. I mean, I've always known from childhood that they want to normalize pedophilia. Like I said, they want to be open with who they are, and they want to make Satanism the normal religion, which is what the Vatican is for, right? That's the world church, and they were gonna, I mean, they already have been worshiping Lucifer for a long time. And we're seeing it in society today, the sexualization of children, the UNESCO agenda. If you go look at that and what they say, the sexual health curriculum for children, it's disgusting what they're saying, you know. And if you look at the books that are out there now, they're teaching children 5 and 6 years old about masturbation, about oral and anal sex, about same-sex relations. They're, you know, even in this document put out, which is UNESCO's part of the UN, it even says by age 12, I believe, children should have had their first sexual experience, right? They should have access to online pornography. And then you see it out there, the drag shows where men are, you know, running around with their parts hanging out right in front of children. And so they're trying to normalize what they always have been, which is pedophiles, but they've done it in secret, and now they want it to be open. And then the Satanism, I mean, look at Hollywood today. I mean, look at the halftime games at the Super Bowl. I mean, you can't get more satanic than that. The red horns and the, I mean, they're not even, I heard, I haven't been back to Italy in a while, but I heard they put a devil statue, I don't know if it was Baphomet or Baal, in front of the Colosseum, you know? So they're openly putting these satanic statues out now. They're not, and in schools in the US, they now have Satan Club, and it's protected under freedom of religion. They're trying to make it cool. So it's out there today, because they're at their end point. They're at the final stage of their agenda. So they want to be open about it, and they're throwing out all the horrible stuff. So this is it, you know, so this is our opportunity to do something about this. And if you want, I can speak to what I think we can do.
Yeah, I go for it. Absolutely.
So I think the first and foremost thing to remember is that these people use us and have used us, whether multidimensionally or physically, to create their hell on earth agenda. They cannot do it without us. And so one of the first things people can do is, of course, learn the truth about who's running the world, and stop following orders. If you're a teacher, refuse to teach this pedophile curriculum. If you're a police officer, refuse the orders to force people to get an experimental jab or arrest people because they're protesting that they want to shut down farms, or arresting a grandma or a child for running a lemonade stand. Stop obeying orders that harm human beings and life on earth. All the doctors and the nurses, some were ignorant about the agenda, but some knew, because I have a friend who's a doctor, and she told me this story where a man came in to the ER and had a heart attack and died. And then shortly thereafter, the nurse tech brought her the form, the certificate of death, and it said COVID-19. And she said, wait a minute, that I treated that man, he died of a heart attack. And the woman said, well, I know, but we're told to put this on all the death certificates. So she went and talked to the guy, the administrator, and he said, he confessed that they got paid a lot of money for each death diagnosis that was labeled as such, right? So some of these people in the medical profession know precisely what's going on, because they're being paid. They were paid to lie. So stop taking money and favors to harm your fellow human beings. If somebody is coming at you with a completely crazy government regulation, say no. Start to say no. If all of us, or majority of us, had said, for example, we're not going to close our businesses down because that would be a loss of our livelihood, Nothing could have been done. It's compliance and consent that perpetuates this going forward. And they get crazier and crazier with their demands. And, if people keep saying yes and doing what they're told, they will keep going. You've got to have a hard no, So we have to learn to say no, be moral, live a moral life. Stop with this, no one is safe if all of us aren't safe. Doing the bidding of these psychopaths is not going to keep you safe. They don't care about, if you think that because they promise you this and that, you're not next, the axe is not going to come down on your neck, you're wrong. So that's first and foremost. Stand up for yourself and all of humanity and say, hell no. Who are these people? Who gave these people authority over me? Who gave Bill Gates, is he elected to office? Is he a doctor? Why is he funding 85% of the WHO? And why does that man why did he buy up all the farmland in America? And why is he telling me to eat bugs? I'm not gonna eat bugs. Like, go F yourself. No, So we have to say no, because they can't do it without our consent. So everyone who's in any position of authority, teacher, doctor, police, military, stop doing their bidding. It's really kind of simple. Grow a spine and say no. Okay. They are raping and trafficking millions of children every year. Okay. There's people involved in all facets of the trafficking. What the hell are you doing? Stop it. Expose it. Say no. Go blow the whistle. Oh, well, they'll kill me. Okay, I'd rather be killed and blow the whistle on child trafficking than I would be too ashamed to be alive and keep that knowledge or to myself. Video it, release stuff, like put the truth out there. Because if we're not responsible for the children of this planet, then who the hell is? No, this was done to me, and I can't bear that I wake up every day and it's still being done to children. This has to stop. That's why I'm speaking out. And you know what? If they kill me as I'm dying, my mouth will be talking until the last breath.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's bigger than one life. It's bigger than that. The other thing we can do is we can heal our traumas because they use trauma-based mind control. They've thrown it at us, the wars, the false flags, the sexual abuse, whether it's ritual abuse or just sexual abuse. It's to traumatize us and render us fragmented so that then we can be easily programmed. So then the media repeats the lie a bunch of times, and then it goes into our subconscious and we believe it's true, right? And we believe that we're nothing, and we believe we have to obey these authority figures out here. And, so we need to heal ourselves and put ourselves back together, because that's the first step. And then we step into our power, and then we go, oh, I can do something about the problems here. And then we'll realize that all this divide and conquer, whether it's race, they've emphasized race now and gender, and they want us all to be against each other. We only have one common enemy, and it's them. We are one human race. So let's put ourselves back together and work together to end this scourge, to end this. And so really, the more you heal yourself, the more you integrate yourself, the higher your consciousness is going to go. Then you're going to recover your organic human abilities like telepathy and self-healing. These things that, I won't even go into it, but the whole virus theory is another BS, So it's just another boogeyman that we should be afraid of. We don't, we can heal our own bodies. So let's get all our abilities back and our strength back and our power back. And remember, actually, that we're these divine beings, that came and were in these human bodies here on this planet. I think once you get to a certain level of your own healing and restoration, it pops in your mind, what's my mission? What did I come here to do? Right? And do it. What if all the billions of us did something,
Mm.
it would be over in 5 minutes from right.
Mm.
So sorry, I got a little excited.
No, I love that. I was mic drop, boom. Bloody love that so much, Max. Love, but it's so true. It is so true. And like I'm sure I said this in the last time we had a chat, just like everything begins within. So when we heal ourselves, and we're just reminding ourselves of how freaking powerful that we are. And I always think that too, like if all of us just did something or just said no, or even enough of us just said no in an instant because of the energetic realm we live in, it's over. It's over. Yeah. And when you were saying that as well too, like I thought about, your story when you just went, no, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. No. And it's like that visceral kind of like, it's just, and that's the kind of thing we just all need to do, whether like we do it out on our own or whatever, isn't it? Just no.
Yeah, because you know what? I mean, of course, the dark side cheats and doesn't do it right. But like you had said earlier, this planet was a balance, and they have to follow certain universal laws. And one of them is that they have to have our consent for what they're doing, which is why, for example, they have these simulations before they do a thing. Like they had a simulation for COVID and then they did it. They have a simulation for the global food supply collapse and then they do stuff. It's written in Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Rockefeller Secret Covenant about the medical system. Like it's in movies. They tell us in movies. So they want us to think it's fantasy, but they have done their obligation to inform us. And if you don't say no, it's implied consent. So see, they can't actually even do it if we say no. And that's why when you say no, it kind of, I mean, yeah, they can try and harass you and whatever, but that's kind of the line. We have the right to consent or not consent. This entire planet is run under contract law. And by the way, it's all, we don't know so many things when we engage in these contracts, but it's a law that if you don't have informed consent in a contract, it's null and void, right? So why do they so heavily socially engineer people? Well, because then they consent willingly, right? They said yes. Like the people that ran out and took the jab, they fell for the conditioning, and they believed it. So they could say, well, oh well, they were willing. I mean, they've said that actually. I don't know, it was one, I don't know what kind of hearing it was, and this Pfizer guy was there, and some government official, and somebody was saying, well, you forced people, and they were like, oh, we didn't force anyone, but technically they didn't, right?
Yeah.
Because if your job says you have to get this or you can't work, you still have the choice to say, all right, I won't work there. So that's a critical thing to know. They do, by universal law, need our consent, and they've socially engineered us to manufacture our consent, or at least make us not say no.
Yeah, I mean, the hat has to go off to them a bit. Like they know how to play the game, and it's just, if we don't know how the game's being played, then, or you know that you're in a game, and that you've got the ability to, I guess, quote unquote, win the game, but more and more people are going, all right, what are we going to do? And so, yeah, I always just come back to this inner knowing of how powerful we are. And I love what you said as well about, you're going to be talking, even if they do come after you, you'll be talking until that very last breath. And that's sort of what it's about, isn't it? Because if, it doesn't mean that you don't have joy in your life, and you don't, last time you were talking about, if you bring the joy, elevate your frequency, watch the babies laughing on when you're scrolling through Instagram, like all that sort of stuff, we've got that power to do that, really, really, don't we?
Yeah. And love, they psychopaths don't even understand what that is. I mean, these people, they're brutal. They enjoy raping babies and cutting them into pieces and sacrificing them and drinking their blood. I mean, these people, they're psychopaths. So they don't have love at all. They don't have empathy. They don't have compassion. And they've wanted to snuff that out in us. And they've done that with all these programs over the decades, but well, they haven't really succeeded because most people still love their children. When there's well, it's not an unnatural disaster, one of their weather warfare things, like they burned through here where I live a few years ago, the fire in Maui, the earthquake in Turkey, the hurricanes. I mean, they do all of this too. Every disaster you see, people come together and they help each other. They rush to help each other. So one thing they can't stand is love. They don't understand it, they hate it, and they don't want us in that frequency because guess what? They're in this frequency and love is up here. They can't touch us when we're there, right? So that's another thing we can all do. Just start loving. Like, get out of your head and start feeling your heart, because it should be the heart's guide and then the mind kind of helps you formulate what you need to do. But we've been taught otherwise. So start loving, if you, and for God's sakes, if you walk down the street and you see a homeless person laying there starving and begging for food, don't just walk by and pretend you don't see that person. Like, give them some money, buy them a sandwich, love, spread love everywhere you can. When I go to the grocery store, I always make a point to talk to the cashier and say, like, if there's something nice, I can say like, oh, I like your earrings, or, or beautiful day outside, and just make a human connection with other humans. Smile, if someone walks by with their dog, I pet their dog and I say something, and just engage in a little conversation with someone. Just, if it's a beautiful sunny day, go outside and stare at the sun and feel the love of the creator coming, warming your body. Just love yourself. We're taught to loathe ourselves. I mean, I had to struggle with that for years, and I mean, I'm not quite perfect at it yet, but admire yourself, love yourself, tell yourself like how important you are, because every single one of us here, I mean, it's like all of us human beings are like the cells of one organ in a body. And then like there's all these organs, and then Earth is another big body. And then there's all these planets, and then that's a body of a universe. Like, it's a fractal reality, but we're not even separate. That's the illusion in this 3D game, like you called it, right? So whatever we do, it affects everyone and everything, and then it comes back and affects us. So think about that when you think a nasty thought, when you are in a cranky mood, and it's okay, just notice it and go, yeah, that's not going to serve me or the success of us overcoming and overthrowing these freaks that are running the planet. So let me get into a love state, So practice love. They hate that. It's like it's tormenting to them. So I like ideas that torment them. So let's just love.
It's just love. I bloody love it. And I can relate in the sense of it's been a big shift for me to turn around too. Like everything begins within, loving yourself. Like, you still loathe, and having those things. I'm sure a lot of people can relate on their own level in their own journey. When you love yourself, that is then blowing out everywhere, because when you love yourself, you're not going to do things that harm you or harm others. And like you said, we're all connected. And the thing is, like, as I'm talking this through, like, it's so simple. It's so simple what we need to do. I know it can be the hardest thing sometimes too, but it's so simple.
It is. It's so simple. Like we've talked before, exercise your body, take care of it, feed it good food and clean water, sleep enough, connect with your guides or the divine or whatever that is, just have that moment where you go inward and you become more multidimensional. I mean, there's so many ways that we can show that love for ourselves, and it's simple as hell. There's no magic. You don't need to be enlightened or have some magic formula. I mean, it's common sense. you know, just begin and do like a little micro loving act of kind. I mean, if you're walking down a sidewalk and for example, you see an earthworm, pick it up and put it on the grass so it doesn't get stepped on. That's an act of love. What is it costing you?
Yeah.
10 seconds of your time, you know, and love and respect life, you know, because these people are anti-life. So, but we are life and we are light. So absolutely, I 100% agree. And, you know, help other people, you know, if you have a chance. And we have bad days, you know, and I mean, I myself get in fear, you know, I've been pumped. I mean, I've seen literally the face of evil itself. I've seen so much stuff. I mean, I honestly don't know how I'm here today and mostly sane. But so I do go through moments where I get scared, you know, something happens or I think I'm going to go in this direction and then there's like a door closes. But so we can reframe like, okay, so if this door is closing, maybe it's for me. Maybe it's because I need to go this way and through this other door. And this is the path that's actually going to take me to where I want to go, you know? So we can reframe those things. And you know, and I know this is something you teach people too, like have an intent, dream a dream, visualize it. That's another thing. We have the power. We're creators, right? So we have the power to create. So it's a fine line. You need to know the ugly truth and what they're doing so you can protect yourself. But you don't want to obsessively go, oh my God, they're doing this, they're doing this. You want to shift your focus into, all right, so this version of Earth kind of sucks. What can we do in this new version? So put your energy into daydreaming the way that the planet could be. Like, we definitely have the resources and abundance for every single person to have a home and water and food and energy. And like, I imagine a world where children are safe and they're playing and they, you know, they actually learn things that they're not, you know, indoctrinated in these. And you, such a good point. The schools look, they're designed exactly like prisons for a reason, right? They're meant to improve the mind. So what if we imagine a world where everything is different and beautiful and where we're telepathic and where the plants and the animals, you know, can communicate with us? And I mean, anything we can imagine, if we focus on it and we daydream it and we do a little bit of something towards it, and collectively, I mean, my God, we could create something new again in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't know who we are. We've been abused and, you know, harvested and miseducated, but let's remember who we are because we can really do anything. That's the joke, right? We're sitting here like scared to death, like slaves and obedient little cattle, and we don't have to be that.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I could not agree more, Max. It's just, yeah. And, you know, over these last few days or weeks, I've been chatting with different people. And I mean, for some people, this information, like some of the stuff that you've gone through is new still and quite confronting. And I often just say, well, you know, obviously it's hard to hear, but imagine, like, you can't even imagine going through it. And then you've got, like, we can't change what we don't acknowledge. So like you said before, so we have to acknowledge it, like you said, and then we have to choose to shift and to visualize what it is that we truly want, what it is that we want to create. And I'm laughing because I know I just said that it's so simple, but it really is. And to some people, it might sound, well, that's just ridiculous. Imagine it and it's going to happen. Well, actually, it does. We create, we manifest. Like anything we do, like picking up a pen, like you've manifested picking up a pen. And I know that's a real simple example, but we can create anything. It's an infinite reality. That means everything exists and nothing exists all at once. And so our thing is, so what do you want to tap into? What frequency do you want to tap into? What do you want Earth to look like? And, when you were giving that visual, I'm imagining the squirrels, like high-fiving the animals, like, why can't we do that? Why can't we create that?
Well, we can, because see, these people, this global cult, they're very clever. You got to give them that, right? And they don't have that organic life force energy, remember? So they have to create through us. Well, they've gotten us to create the reality we're in now. It's a collective consciousness reality, and it takes a certain amount to shift that reality. And that's the good news, and the bad news is that it's a collective reality. So we need more and more of us. We need a certain number of us to be whole and healed and awake to what's going on and creating something new. So if we were enlisted and used to create this version, then guess what? We can create a whole new one too. That's the good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't remember the name of the project, but there was in some state or country somewhere, and they got everyone to meditate at the same time. And during that time, all the crime, everything just dropped. There was nothing. So there's those kind of things as well. Like, yeah, it's possible, and we can do it. We can absolutely do it.
Yeah, no, we can. And they have, I think it was in China, but I saw this video, and they trained these doctors to do basically what you might call psychic surgery. But they had this woman, and they had her hooked up to some kind of MRI or some machine that had a screen and a visual, and she had I think it was a pancreatic tumor, and they focused on it, and it reduced right there on the screen. I mean, you could see it. They weren't touching her because they were working on one of her energy bodies. So we have the physical body, and then the etheric, and I don't even know all the verbiage, but all these different bodies. So again, the power of the mind and of their intent shrunk the tumor. But because psychopaths run our world, they love their medical system. I mean, where they cut you open, and there's no need to do any of that, right? So we can heal each other, and we can heal ourselves with this.
Absolutely. And I know the exact video that you're talking about, sort of in a black and white, yellowy kind of. Yes. Yeah, I know. And I saw that quite a few years ago, and I was just like, look at that. Like, look at that. And I think too, like, because it's not far out. Like, we're so freaking powerful. And like, to think, we get rid of these tumors, and we don't, like you said, we don't need to be cutting it. Like, if everything is inverted, you've got to think of, well, if this is really gross, then what are the possibilities? Like, anything that you see that is the worst, then go, okay, flip that. What is the other side of that? And then obviously you've got to be in that balance as well too, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody showed me this thing called laughter yoga, so you can look it up. But this woman, she was literally like saying, fake the laughter, and she was doing it. And then I found that I was laughing with her because it was just so silly and ridiculous, but it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
And it has a validity, scientifically been studied. Like, even if you laugh, all kinds of things happen in your body and in your brain, and you go up that frequency scale, right? So, and that's something I think it's like we've been so darkened, but there's still joy and love and fun and play, and so we need to like do that, because that's gonna build us up and build that energy up too. So just do some joyous things. And I don't know about you, but I find that giving is so fulfilling, so you can give someone who doesn't have food, or you can help a neighbor fix their fence, or you can babysit someone's child for them, or go visit them in the hospital, or what. We can do these little small acts of giving, and again, it makes us, I think, it gives you so much benefit. You can study it even in the body, right? So what if we just do one little good thing every day, and have one time a day where we laugh or where we have joy or where we spread love. I mean, that's really going to be our best. That's my revenge for what they did to me. They tried to destroy me in every way. They tried to, you know, turn me. I remember being told, you're going to be just like me. You're going to be one of us. And I was like, never, 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 never. And so my revenge is to, don't get me wrong, I've suffered like crazy and I've had a lot to overcome, but I've slogged through and I've done it, and I'm going to live the most joyfully and full of love and with generosity and kindness that I can, because that's my revenge. It's like, nope, you're not going to turn me into that. I'm going to be what a real human is. And you know what a real human is? Look at children. Look at babies. Look at toddlers. Why do we all go, oh, they're so cute? You know, when you see someone with little kids, you can't help but smile. And they go up to you, you know, they say hi, you know, and they're just pure love and vulnerability and joy. That's who we really are. And then the world and their programs and their systems deform us. But we can get back to that. We can get back to that organic, childlike human nature that we are. Plus, because we danced with the dark in this period of time, let's not waste that. Let's gain wisdom and discernment and maturity, but go back to that natural way that we really are, which again, look at all children before, you know, they get traumatized, and that's who we really are. So we don't even have to regret what they've done and go, oh God, we've, you know, yes, okay, we've suffered, but let's use it as a step ladder, as learning, you know, to become. And that's, I think, the bargain that the dark does. I had this download many years ago where they, and this was about myself, like if they throw something at me and I bite and like if it takes me down and destroys me, then they've won. But if I overcome, then I've now become that much stronger, right? So with everything I've been through, I'm really, really strong. I'm not afraid of death at all. I'm, you know, so let's take that and let it, it's like a martial art. We can become a much higher version of ourselves by going through all of that.
Yeah. And that's the thing I noticed too, like when we chat, Max, like there's so many videos and interviews with you where you talk very much and candidly about what you've had to go through. And always, we always come back to the solution, because yes, we've acknowledged this and it absolutely has to be. But the solution is what we can do. And I do agree, like those times, like the bits that they're there to make us stronger. They're there for us. And if we allow it, and that is a choice that we, each of us, have to make internally along the way. And I'm sure all of us have experienced so many different times where we get to choose, okay, am I going to let this pull me down, or I'm going to let this make me stronger, take the wisdom from it? Yeah. Totally. Oh, Max, I could talk to you all day. And I don't know how long we've been talking, because we had a little chin wag at the start as well. So is there anything else that you would like to share with the amazing humans that are listening to or watching this right now?
I would just like to say it's not getting darker. It's just that the dark is being exposed. We're in a dark night of the soul process, but that's always what follows that is the birth. So we're really right there at that point of coming out the other side completely new and actually stronger than before, more wise than before. And so don't despair, because we've got this. This is the most incredible time to be alive on planet Earth. And I really think we all came here to have a front row seat to this. My God, we've been going through this for hundreds and thousands of years, and we're now at the point where this is tilting to the light. The reign of the dark is over. Yes, it's all, it's like, you know, when they do a fireworks show and they save all the finale, it's like all the fireworks go off. That's what it is. And then it's over. And so don't despair. Know that we're going where we want to go, and just get your butt in gear and heal your traumas and stand up and go forth, because every one of us is critical to, because they've destroyed and we need to create now. In everything that falls, we need to put something in its place. So, get yourself together, whatever your passion is, and just know that this is it. We are prevailing, we're going into the light, and we need all of us. So, it's positive. We're moving from hell to heaven.
We've got this. We've so got this. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Max, where can people find you when they want to connect and listen to all your wisdom?
Well, I have a website, unbroken.global, and I interview a variety of amazing people. So you can see my videos there, or on Rumble, Bitchute, and Brighteon. I'm on Instagram. I write a lot of articles, which are actually on my blog, but I'm going to create a Substack. So that's something on my list to do that I haven't gotten to yet. Yeah, and on my website, if you want to support me, you can become a member for a little bit of money a month, and I do monthly Zooms with the members, and we're actually growing every time. We're building this community of people, because people feel like they don't have other people of like mind to talk to. And so we're building community together. So you can do that. And I do see some people for therapy. So if, and particularly survivors, SRA survivors. So you can find that on my website too. And otherwise you can telepathically communicate with me as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll link our other episode in the show notes and description as well. So if people haven't seen that first one, they can jump on that. So as always, I want to thank you at home for tuning in, as always as well. Give it a like, thumbs up, leave a comment. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for being here. Max, thank you for coming back on and having another chat. I just love connecting with you. You are an awesome, epic human, and I'm so glad you chose to be here at this time with all of us.
Thank you, and likewise, you're an epic human yourself. So thank you for having me.
Oh, tell me more. Thanks. Thanks so much, Max. Have the best day.